Hello students, this is Dr. Henry and I'm your instructor for DAT 120, which is Office Administration for Dental Assistants. This particular video is the fourth video in our look at the Dentrix appointment book. Before I begin with the topic that we're going to begin with for this video, I do just want to mention that some of these videos will be done with the Dentrix Learning Edition that's based on version G4, and some of them will be done with the Dentrix Learning Edition that's based on G7. This particular video, and I think the last few, were in this newer version. It has a little bit of a different look. That is the G7 version. However, those of you who are using the G4 version should still be able to follow along, and vice versa. So, I do apologize. There may be a mix of videos because it depends on the time I did the video. It depends on, what access I had, whether I was on campus or I was using my own laptop or device. So I do want to let students know that, in subsequent videos, it might look different. However, the topics that we're covering should be available in both versions, and all students will still be required to learn the information that is covered in each of these guided practice videos. So for those of you taking notes, please make note of the topics, and I try to remind myself to say, hey, we're going to a new topic in each video. But if I don't, whenever I go to something new and click on it, you may want to stop the video and take notes about what I'm doing at that time, because that is an element that you're going to need to know how to do for a later assignment. All right, so this video, we're going to start with the appointment book view topic. So appointment book views. And so let's look at the current view that we have. For those of you that just finished with me on the video 3, you may still be on Sunday the 28th. We had ended with flip tabs and we learned how to do that 6-month flip tab. So I'm kind of picking up where I left off with the previous video. So in this view, we are able to see 8 operatories, and so Dentrix calls them operatories, and it does OP 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8. For example, I think you can do more than 8 in a view, but these are the exam rooms that would be available at your dental practice, and depending on which dental provider you're working with, you may schedule appointments for one particular provider, and that one particular provider may work in all operatories, or maybe they only work in 1 or 2 or 3 of the operatories. And so if you're dedicated to scheduling for one specific provider or a group of providers, then you really want to customize the view of your appointment book to your daily work. And so you can change this to only see the operatories that you work with, etc. So let's look at that now. So to begin, we're going to go to the view button. And once you click view, it should bring open this view dialog box. Now I'm here in the G7 version, and notice that it has no views set up. For those of you who are in the G4 version, you should have at least 2, I think, views set up by default, but it's okay. I'm going to walk through the steps to set up a new one anyway, so it doesn't matter whether you're in the G4 version or the G7 version. We are going to all learn how to set up a view inside of the Dentrix appointment book. Okay, but if you are on the G4 version, you may want to click through those just to see the difference. But for us learning how to set up a new one, let's do that together now. So we went to view, it opened the select view dialog box. We're going to click new. Okay, so if we wanted all of the providers to show, if we wanted all the operatories to show, we would just click the all button. By default, it is showing all the office hours that we have. And so for this first one, I think I am going to keep these selections. So I'm going to do all operatories, all providers. Then I'm going to do the entire workday time. I'm going to select all of the days And you know, depending on which view you're in, day view, week view, or month view, that'll determine what you see, but within your view. So keep that in mind. So I'm gonna keep all the days selected. I'm not sure how much of this you already have selected by default in your version, whether it's G4 or G7, but to view the amount, we'll say, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep that checked. If it's not checked on yours, go ahead and check it for this view. This shows you the amount of money that the practice is going to earn that day if everybody comes in who has a scheduled procedure. You want to keep checked view appointment notes because these are notes that are put in specifically for that appointment. View alerts. Now, these are medical alerts. If the patient has a patient alert, which for those of you in an earlier class or in an earlier video, we did talk about the different types of alerts and notes. So there could be a patient note, a patient alert, and a medical alert. And so this is a medical alert that we're saying we want to see on the appointment information area. And then if you want to view the provider column. Okay, now appointment information. This is information specifically about the appointment that you want to show up on your appointment book view. And so that'll be on the appointment. If you recall, for those of you, if you watched an earlier video, and I believe we were on that March 27th, 2018 date, and you saw the different color blocks with patient names, and it had different kinds of information showing for each patient, where here is where you would designate what you want to see next to each patient's name inside of the appointment book. And let me just make a note. If this information is not already on file with in the family file module, for example, for those of you who remember, depending on the class you're in, normally the family file module is covered before the appointment book module. So I'm going under the assumption that everybody has already learned about the family file before getting to this video. But if, for example, the patient doesn't have a work number listed in the family file, then it's going to be blank here in the appointment book. But for everyone who has that information inside of the family file, it will pull over to this appointment book view. And number 9, sometimes you may see it as the social security number. So we're just going to, and then this one, line 3, is normally the home phone. So it depends on which view you're in. It depends on which version of Dentrix you have. You may or may not see this, but let's say these are going to be the selections we choose for our first view here. We're choosing to pretty much see almost everything that's available. So make sure you have this selected in your Dentrix and then click OK. Notice that the view is now in our view list and it is labeled. This is our first view, so it's labeled O1, and F1 is referring to the shortcut button that you can click to view that view. So on your keyboard, you should have function keys. They're labeled as F1, F2, F3, and so on. And so to quickly get between views, so like if you had a lot of different views, to quickly get between them, you would just use your function keys on your keyboard to see them. So to set this one, I'm gonna say okay. And I know that we're in the F1 view because you now see these little zeros here. Remember, we're on a Sunday where the office is closed, so we don't have any procedures scheduled. So our amount is 0 as it should be. So let's now skip to a day that actually has appointments and see if we can get the amount to show up. So for those of you in this G7 version, we're going to go to that March 27th of 2018 because it actually has appointments set up on that particular day. For those of you in the G4 version, you might have to go to a different day. Now, I do want to say this. These learning editions were created a long time ago. And so the G7 version is having or does have some more recent dates like 2018, although at this point in 2021, that's a long time ago. And depending on when you're watching this video, it could be an even longer time ago. However, there should be a date for the G4 version. I'm going to say if you go to the month of August for the year of either 2011 or 2013, you should see some appointments. However, for the sake of time, I'm going to just go to the date that we know so that everybody can see the difference in the view. I'm going to click on the calendar view, and there again, yes, this is the quickest way to move in the calendar. So I'm going to go backwards in time to 2018. Remember, we're going to March 27 of 2018. I know that's a long time ago, but because the database is kind of static, and we're using it for learning purposes, it's not going to have any recent dates. So I'm going to click on the 27th, so I'm on March 27 of 2018. I'm going to click OK. Notice here, okay, so we are set to make, looks like over $10,000 in just that one day based on the appointments that we have scheduled. So I wanted you to see that difference. Another thing, I wanted to set up one more view just so that you can see the difference in having less operatories shown. So I'm going to go back to the view button, and there again, we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to click new. And to unselect, you would have to kind of go through it like this. I think it's easier to click all and then uncheck it, and then now you can click on just the ones you want. Although I believe you can hold the control key and do that as well. So if I don't want one, just click on it. But if I click on ones that I want and then hold your control key on your keypad, then you can select more than one. I'm just going to select 3 providers. And I'm going to select 3 operatories. So to make it a little easier, I click all and then uncheck it and then hold control and just select the operatories I want to see. And there again, this is beneficial for staff members because you don't always need to see the appointments for all of your providers. So if you are assigned to a specific provider or group of providers, as I mentioned, then you don't need to see everything for everybody. I'm going to leave the office time setting. I'm going to uncheck Sunday, just as making a difference. I'm going to probably leave all these because I do want to see the amounts. And then again, that amount, I believe, will tailor it to just the providers that we're seeing and just the operatories that are checked. And let's limit this display information. So let's say that we don't need all of this information. And so to unselect them, you can click the drop down and click none for each of the things that you don't want to see or don't need to see, because if you have a appointment book full of appointments, it can get very overwhelming. So let's say we want to see the patient name, the reason they're coming. Let's say we need their phone number, and let's say we do, mobile phone. Now there again, if they don't have a mobile phone, it's not going to show up, but let's say we want name, appointment reason, and provider. Click OK. We now have a second view. Click OK. Now it zapped us immediately to that view, and you notice that it's a much cleaner look because we're tailoring it to just 3 providers and just 3 operatories. So imagine if we were only assigned to 1 provider and 1 operatory, it would make this much easier to see. Also, you can see that there's now room in the patient appointments because we reduced the amount of information that is seen. Now, because we're just practicing, I wanted you to see this, but in a live session or a live version of Dentrix at an office, you would want to include all the information that you need to be effective, or to give reminder calls, or to schedule new appointments, or for whatever you needed it to be. But I did want to show you that you can tailor your experience with Dentrix based on your work or who you're working with. Now, to switch between the views, we currently have 2 views set up. To switch between them, we need to hit the function keys on our keyboard. And so remember, the function keys align with the view. So for the first view, it's F1. For the second view, it's F2. And so on my keyboard, I actually have a newer keyboard, and it has a separate function key. So I'm going to hold that. Okay, now I'm in F2 view because it zapped me there once we first made it. So I'm already in F2 view. So I'm going to click the function key in F1, and it did pop me to the F1 view because remember, F1 view shows all the providers and all the operatories. Your keyboard might work differently. For some keyboards. If it's a laptop, you might have to press shift and the function key, or you might not have to press any additional button at all. You might have a function key that has nothing else on it. It'll just say F1, F2, F3. So in that case, you just click the function key F1 or F2 and it'll get you between the views. So for, those of you, depending on your device, you do need to make a note of that. So just as a practice, I'm going to go function key F2 and I'm back. So that's how it works on my particular device. You have to learn your device. Thanks for watching. Bye.